This happened to me on a weekday night after finishing a long shift at work. It was around 1 a.m. The city was asleep, the streets were empty, and only the occasional car passed by. I opened the Uber app, ordered a ride, and stood under an old flickering streetlight. The app showed my driver, Daniel, black Toyota Camry. After a few minutes, a black sedan slowly turned the corner and pulled up in front of me. The driver rolled down his window and called out my name. His voice was sharp, almost impatient. Too tired to think twice, I just opened the door and got inside. Almost instantly, I felt it. Something wasn't right. The air inside smelled stale, a mix of old cigarettes and garbage. Fast food wrappers and empty bottles cluttered the back seat. A crumpled jacket was thrown carelessly on the seat beside me. I leaned forward, expecting to see the usual mounted phone with the Uber app running. But the dashboard was empty. No GPS, no app, nothing. Just a man gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Trying to sound casual, I asked, "You're taking me home, right?" The man let out a low chuckle. Not a normal laugh, it was deep and unsettling. "Don't worry," he said, eyes fixed on the road. "You'll get there." A cold shiver ran down my spine. I quietly opened my phone and checked the Uber app. My stomach dropped. My real driver was still 8 minutes away. The man driving me wasn't my Uber. I forced myself to stay calm. "Hey, actually, can you stop here? I think I left something at work." He ignored me. Instead, he turned off onto darker, narrower streets. The glow of streetlights vanished. Windows fogged slightly. The silence grew heavier with every turn. I reached for the door handle. It was locked. He must have heard the click, because I saw the corners of his mouth twitch into a small, eerie smile. "You don't want to do that," he muttered. My pulse was racing so fast it felt like my chest might burst. Every instinct screamed at me, "Get out, now!" At the next red light, I didn't hesitate. I slammed my shoulder into the door, yanked the handle with everything I had, and to my shock, it opened. I fell out onto the street, scraping my knees against the pavement, yelling for help. People on the sidewalk froze, staring. Some shouted. The driver didn't stop. He hit the gas and sped off into the darkness without a word. A few minutes later, my real Uber arrived. The driver looked at me like I'd lost my mind. Clothes dirty, face pale, hands trembling uncontrollably. I couldn't even speak at first. And here's what still keeps me awake sometimes. If that door hadn't opened, if I hadn't checked my phone, where was he planning to take me? This happened to a girl named Lena. She was heading home after a party at a friend's place. It was around 2 a.m. The city was dead quiet, the streets almost completely deserted. The air outside felt heavy, the kind of silence that makes you uneasy. She ordered a ride through the app and a silver sedan pulled up within minutes. The driver looked ordinary, middle-aged, polite smile, even opened the door for her. At first, everything felt completely normal. Lena leaned her head against the window, exhausted. Streetlights flickered past one by one as the car moved steadily through the city. Her eyelids were growing heavy when something inside her told her to check her phone. Her stomach dropped. The little blue arrow on the Uber app wasn't following the marked route home. "Excuse me," she said, leaning forward. "I think you missed a turn." The driver's eyes flicked up to the rearview mirror. His smile was gone. For a few seconds, he said nothing. Then, in a flat, quiet voice, he answered, "It's a shortcut." Her pulse quickened. She looked back at her phone. The route was heading away from the city, toward the outskirts where the roads grew empty and the forest began. The farther they drove, the fewer lights there were. Soon, the only glow came from the car's headlights cutting through the darkness. Trying to stay calm, she laughed nervously. A shortcut through the woods? Sounds like the start of a horror movie. The driver didn't laugh. He didn't even react. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Her heart was racing. She opened the Uber chat and quickly sent her live location to her best friend. If anything happens, I'm in this car. The message said sent, but no reply came back. She leaned forward again. Look, can you just take the normal route? I'll pay extra. I don't care. Just please take me home. The man kept staring at the road, silent. The car sped deeper into the night. Then Lena noticed something ahead, a split in the road, a chance. Thinking fast, she pulled out her phone, pressed it to her ear, and spoke loudly, as if talking to someone. Yeah, I'm almost home. The police are already waiting outside. Only 10 minutes left. And yes, I already gave them the license plate number. She made sure every word was clear. Her eyes locked on the driver's reflection in the mirror. The car slowed. For a terrifying moment, she thought he might keep going into the forest anyway. But suddenly, he swerved sharply and turned back toward the city. Neither of them said a word. For the next few minutes, the only sound was the hum of the engine. Finally, the car rolled to a stop at a brightly lit intersection. "Get out," the driver muttered. He never looked back at her. Lena jumped out, slammed the door, and sprinted toward the nearest 24-hour store where she could see light and people inside. When she turned around, the silver sedan was already gone, swallowed by the night. Later, when she checked her app, she noticed something chilling. The trip was never recorded as complete. The driver's profile had vanished. Driving for Uber teaches you a lot. You see all kinds of people, drunk, loud, silent, strange. Sometimes it's unsettling, but there's always an explanation: alcohol, stress, exhaustion. But one night I realized the scariest passengers aren't the ones you expect. They're the ones who shouldn't be there at all. It was deep into the night, the city completely lifeless. Streetlights barely glowed, casting sickly pools of light over the pavement. I pulled up outside a restaurant. A young woman stepped out quickly, scanning the street before spotting my car. She smiled with relief. "Are you here for name?" I asked. She nodded, gave me her name, and slid into the back seat. Everything seemed normal, too normal. Yet the air in the car felt heavy from the moment she got in. I brushed it off. Just fatigue, I told myself. We drove in silence. The only sound was the tires on the road and the low hum of the engine. She stared at her phone, while I kept my eyes on the empty streets. But something felt wrong. The night pressed against the windows like a weight. The city wasn't sleeping. It was dead. About 10 minutes later, she gasped. I saw her face in the rearview mirror, her eyes wide, her lips pale. Her phone slipped from her hand. She leaned forward, voice trembling in a whisper. "There's someone in your back seat." Ice slid through my veins. For a second, I thought she was imagining things. But then I looked in the mirror myself, and I saw him. In the far corner of the back row, hidden in the shadows, sat a man. His head was slightly bowed, his hands resting neatly on his knees. He looked as though he had been there the entire time, waiting. My chest tightened. I knew for certain Nobody else had gotten in my car. Nobody. "Who are you?" I choked out. "Nothing." He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared forward with an emptiness that made my skin crawl. I yanked the wheel, pulled over hard, and slammed on the brakes. With a shaking hand, I flicked on the dome light. The girl let out a scream. Now I saw him clearly. His skin was pale as death, lips nearly blue, and his eyes black, bottomless pits. No light reflected in them. No life. "Get out!" I shouted, throwing my door open. The girl bolted too, clinging to my arm as we stumbled onto the sidewalk. We stood there, breath ragged, while inside the car, silence. The man sat motionless, as if carved from stone. Then, slowly, he leaned forward. With an almost deliberate calm, he reached out and gently pushed the rear door shut. The sound of the latch echoed in the still night. His movements were unnatural, too smooth, like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. A moment later, he slid out of the opposite side. His steps were soundless. He didn't look at us, didn't say a word. He simply melted into the darkness until he was gone. We called the police. When they arrived, I could barely explain what happened. The girl was shaking, crying, repeating, "He was there. He was there." The officers searched the car. Nothing. No fingerprints. No sign anyone had been there. They checked my trip history. Only her ride was logged. No one else. They shrugged, told me to get some rest, and left. But I had seen his face. I knew he was real. Time has passed since that night, but I can't drive at night without glancing over my shoulder. Every empty street feels heavier. Every silent ride feels wrong. Sometimes in the mirror, I swear I see a shadow in the back seat again. And then, last week, something happened that froze me to my core. Driving home at 3 a.m., I was alone. Absolutely alone. But when I stopped at a red light, I caught a glimpse in the mirror. A handprint smudged on the inside of the back window. I hadn't heard a door open. I hadn't seen anyone get in. And now I know the truth. He never left. He's still waiting.